If you're watching this on YouTube and you have a question, comment, suggestion, or maybe you just want to find out more information about the product, you can find the link below. Hello again, I'm Rodney Reynolds from 3DGameMan.com and welcome to another video review. Today I'm looking at the Fractal Design Node 304 case. This is a plain looking box, but it does have pictures as well as some features and specifications about the product on it. It's packaged very well between two pieces of styrofoam, and the case itself is in a plastic bag. Included is a user's manual and the sheet here with service information on it. Now, I already did a video review on the black 304 case, and I'll play that video in just a minute. But before I do, let's go over what the white model looks like. So spec-wise, they are exactly the same, except this one, of course, is white, and some people love white cases. Now, this case is pretty much entirely white, except for a couple of mesh ventilation holes. There's one on this side of the case, and another one on the other side. But the top mesh here for ventilation is white. Let me remove this front panel here. Also, as you can see on the inside, it's white. At the back here, it's also white, but it does have two black ventilated expansion slots. And the inside is all white except for these drive cages. And here's a shot from the bottom. Again, it's white except, of course, for this black removable dust filter. So now that you know what the white color looks like, let's go on with the video review that I did previously on the black model. Now, this is a mini-ITX, or if you prefer, a small form factor case. It is fairly tiny. It's all black, comprised of mainly steel, plastic, but there is some mesh on this for ventilation. Note, the front of this case doesn't have a 5¼ inch drive, and that's not a big deal really these days because a lot of people don't use them anyway. Now, there's very little branding on this case except for their logo, which is at the front bottom right of the case. There's also a status LED right here, power button, two USB 3 ports, a headphone jack, and microphone jack. And on the right side of the case, there's ventilation. Ventilation along this top front bezel. Ventilation along the bottom of the front bezel. And there's lots of ventilation on the left side. The entire front panel comes off by lifting at the front bottom, and you just pull. Now, since this front panel doesn't come completely off, it is kind of attached with these cables. Be careful when taking it off. They include two 92mm intake fans at the front of the case, and note the removable dust filter. Removing this dust filter is pretty easy. Just push in on two of these tabs on either side and it comes right off. Now, if you prefer, you could remove these 92mm fans and install optional 80mm fans. At the back, they include a 140mm exhaust fan, but you can swap this out if you want to and replace it with a 120mm fan. There are two ventilated expansion slots. Here's where the motherboard's I/O shield plate gets installed. You connect the power supply's cable here, and they include 4 thumb screws on this top cover. Inside of the case, they include a number of screws, motherboard standoffs, and cable ties. Now, also at the back, they have this fan speed control. You've got a low, medium, and high setting, and these are the internals for it. This would get connected into the power supply's 4-pin Molex connector, and then you've got these leads which go connected into 3 fans. Now, this case fits mini-ITX and DTX form factor motherboards, and the inside of it is a little bit different than most small form factor cases because you have the power supply located right here. That's quite different because most times you'll see it at the back, and this is why they have this power cord coming from the inside to the outside of the case. So this end, you'd connect the power cord to the outlet, and then this end on the inside would connect it into the power supply. You can install 6 3.5 inch or 6 2.5 inch drives, and you can fit 2 in each of these hard drive cages. These come out by removing 2 thumb screws at the front and another screw here. You take that out, then install the drives on them. Now, they do have rubber washers as well for the 3.5 inch drives to prevent vibrations. So just remove 2 thumb screws at the back and a regular screw here, and it just lifts off, and now you can have a closer look at this hard drive cage. Now the main reason why you can fit so many drives in this case is there's no 5 1/4 inch drive bay, and in my mind that's not a big deal, especially today. Note that they do include rubber rests for the power supply to lodge on, and this will cut down on vibrations. Now let me go over the power supply length, the video card length, and the CPU cooler height. And the power supply length and video card length will conflict and vary a little bit, so let me go through that. You can have a power supply that is up to 160 millimeters in length to fit in combination with long graphics cards. Power supplies, though, with modular connectors on the back typically need to be shorter than 160 millimeters, so keep that in mind. Video cards you can have up to 310 millimeters in length when you have 2 of these top hard drive brackets removed, and graphics cards longer than 170 millimeters will conflict with power supplies longer than 160 millimeters. You can install a CPU cooler that is up to 165 millimeters tall. There are many of these punch outs on the bottom. These are on the left side of the case, so you can organize cables. At the bottom there are 4 rubber feet and a removable dust filter, which by the way is for the power supplies fan. And if you're wondering where the motherboard gets installed, it would be right here. Now I have the power supply installed in the case now because I'm just about to do a sound test, but I wanted to give you some idea what it looks like when it is installed inside of the case. Oh, and all of these fan cables have these 3-pin connectors and they're braided. To recap, they include 2 92 millimeter intake fans at the front of the case and a 140 millimeter exhaust fan at the back of the case. Now let's have a listen to these stock fans. First at the low speed, medium speed, and high speed. This is a pretty plain looking case, but you know what? For a server or something like that, or if you like the simple styling on this, then you might want this for your small form factor case, of course, as long as you don't need an external 5 1/4 inch drive. I myself like the looks on it. It isn't over the top, but it's not too boxy neither. Also, by the way, this front bezel has this kind of aluminum look to it. It's not aluminum, it's plastic, but that looks quite nice. And I love the fact that there's not a lot of branding on this case neither. So if you're looking for a pretty simple, when it comes to styling, but still lots of places to install drives, and that's the big thing with this case, and probably the reason why they call it a node, because the node is lots of storage, and it will be perfect for a small server of sorts. Overall, this is a kick-ass product. Until next time, take care. How do you think this product stacks up? To vote, head on over to 3dgameman.com, and while you're there, check out the pricing.